We've made it to the college football playoff week 1, the first ever 12-team college football playoff. I think we got some interesting games here, but I'm going to spoil some of our picks here and say that we're not expecting a ton of scoring going on this weekend. Any games in particular y'all are most looking forward to, though?
I mean, I'd say Ohio State, Tennessee,
Yeah.
says the SEC whore over here. I just think it's a really interesting matchup here. I think, Ohio State's going to play the best defensive front they've seen in the last couple of years, debatably. And Ryan Day's, record against the SEC is kind of trash, and I hope it continues to stay that same. I don't think it's going to, but I would love to see it continue that way. But that's the one I've got on the calendar for me.
Stefan?
I mean, yes, all of them. I mean, the SMU Penn State one is maybe the one I'm least excited about.
Yeah.
But that's just because I don't care about Penn State so much. Like, they don't strike me as a real threat. I think the fact that Drew Allar's already been like, yeah, I'm coming back next year. Like, he knows he's not coming back as like a national champion. If he wins the national championship, he's the first overall pick in the draft. So, like, yeah, he knows he's not winning. So, yeah, it's not that game. But all the rest of them, I think, are super fascinating. I'm excited to talk about them. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's just we're just gonna go through an order. We have picks on every game
of the weekend.
Yeah, one way or another we have.
No, what's your favorite game of the weekend?
Oh, what's mine?
Yeah.
You know what? I was going through these and it's kind of decided on what my favorite is. I'd have to probably say the Ohio State Tennessee game is probably my favorite potential, mostly because I feel like Ohio State's looked a little vulnerable and hasn't exactly been as dominant as I thought they would be this year. So at the same time, Tennessee has been disappointing for us on this show. So I don't know. I kind of wish it was better. I don't think there's a game here that I'm like, man, like that's just going to be like two Titans going at it. Like,
I would also add, I'm kind of looking forward to the Texas Clemson game because I really hope Clemson loses by like 100. I don't think they will. I just, one can always hope.
Yeah, that one's going to be, I think, the most intriguing to see how, 10-3 Clemson against Texas. I agree. Indiana Notre Dame, I think, is actually really intriguing because while Indiana obviously didn't show up against Ohio State, they did the rest of their schedule.
Yep.
Right? Like they played pretty well. And then you got Notre Dame, who doesn't really play a consistently hard schedule the whole year. And really, like, if you look at Notre Dame's schedule, is there anyone on their schedule? Let's see. They Texas A&M is better. Other than Texas
Northern
A&M,
Illinois might be joining the Pac-12, so come on now.
I'm just saying Indiana, I think, is better than almost everyone they played this year.
Yeah.
So almost.
I don't disagree
with that at all.
I'll be honest, man. I'm not sure what we see from this Indiana team. I think it's a huge question. I think that's why I'm not touching the total because I could see this just being a crazy shootout. I could also see it being like a super. I have no clue what's going to happen.
Well, we're going to start there. So that's a good intro comment to starting with this game, which is Indiana and Notre Dame on Friday night, which I literally just realized before we hit the record button that this game is not on Saturday. I thought they were all on Saturday. And here we are with a game on Friday night, an in-state rivalry game between Indiana and Notre Dame. I have this in a parlay with Penn State, so I'm going to take Notre Dame money line. This is a teaser parlay, Notre Dame money line plus Penn State money line. Essentially, I just don't see any of the underdogs winning this weekend. I fear I'm going to be wrong with that because it does feel like one of these games has to have a surprising result. And it feels like maybe I'm going a little vanilla here, but I am taking those two to get us a minus 123. I do think while the Irish's schedule has not been anything amazing, I do think Indiana kind of showed us their what they could do against a playoff team with Ohio State, and that wasn't very good. So I'm rolling with Notre Dame to win. I also have another pick on this game, and I don't want to. Let's see. I think we got one or two others here that we can go on here, but we'll go with Indiana and Notre Dame under 51. These are actually two top 10 defenses going at it, and I just feel like this total is too high for these teams to be scoring a lot of points. So I'm taking the under on this game, just straight up under 51. Two defensive teams. So yeah. That I was surprised to see the number at 51. I really thought it would be a little lower than that. What about you all? What do you got going for this game? Whether it's a parlay or another pick, and we'll revisit the other halves of your parlays if you have it as we go through these games.
I also have Notre Dame on a parlay to win. The line is -7.5. And that's just a little much. Like, I could see this being a real close game, but I do think Notre Dame wins this more often than not, right? Like, a lot more often than not. And so I'm going to parlay them with a different favorite. I'm going to Texas as well, and we can talk about Texas later. But for the Notre Dame side of it, I just think while they do have that really bad loss to Northern Illinois, since then, since they've kind of shifted their offensive philosophy and really, you've seen Riley Leonard kind of take hold of this offense. You've seen him develop a ton throughout the year. A guy that I was hopeful on the beginning of the season. Then I cut bait on him real early. I was like, no, I was wrong. Riley Leonard is not a good. I never thought he was going to be a good NFL prospect, but I thought maybe he could be a good college quarterback.
There's a big difference. Yeah. Yep.
But now I think actually he is a good college quarterback. And I think he might be one of the better college quarterbacks that's in the field of play right now, given some of the injuries and some of the surprise teams that are here. And he has, a lot of experience at Duke and now here. So I like Notre Dame to win on the money line. And I'm going to parlay that with Texas.
Yep.
And we can talk about Texas when we get to that game. I like your confidence in the under. It makes me feel better about Notre Dame's outcome. I could see this, I don't have the same confidence as you do, but I like it. I can't argue with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's going to be a cold weather. All these games are not going to be amazing weather. This is going to be a cold game on a Friday night and two defensive teams. I do not see a lot of points getting racked up here.
First playoff, to your point, this not only is this the first playoff, this is the first game of the playoffs too. Yep. Anxiety will be high. I could see them playing slow to start. Let's be honest. Indiana struggled to score. They scored late in that game to get to 15. It was they were struggling against Ohio State. I could see it happen. So yeah, I'm with you there. We've been talking about Notre Dame and how we think they're going to win. Mikey, do you have anything on this one now that you're back? We lost you for a minute there.
Oh, you're still gone. We got your mic out.
Mike is mic'd out. Yeah, that joke.
Just for the record, Mike's the most technical person out of all of us. This is literally his job. So I would just want to.
Never happened before.
I just want to point that out. That
in fact, I was certain it was me at first. I was like, "What have I done wrong? Why did Mike disappear? What did I do wrong?"
Oh, it's so good. You're not back yet. No.
How about now?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, I finally
give us your take on Indiana Notre Dame, and I think you do have a pick.
Here,
at least part of a pick.
Part of a pick here, and I agree with most everything except I'm still not sold on Riley Leonard. I still heard every word that you guys said.
Okay. Nice.
He hasn't thrown for over 250 all year. And I think the only way he has been effective is really because Jeremiah Love is a monster. 8.1 yards a carry. If he has a game where he's down to 2.5 or 3 yards a carry, I don't know if Riley Leonard is set up in a way to really carry this team. However, the Notre Dame depth, I think, far outweighs Indiana here in the cold weather at home. So I don't see a lot of points happening in this. I also don't think Indiana is near as bad as they were against Ohio State. I think they show up a lot more in this game than they did in their last big game. So I've got them at teased way up to plus 14.5 here as part of my parlay. I don't know. If it were, prime weather conditions and they sucked against the run, then yeah, I think Notre Dame could run away with this. I just think they're going to be too strong up front defensively for Notre Dame to really do their thing and really run away with it that bad. So plus 14.5 is the first leg there in my teaser.
I agree. I feel like this is the most primed one for like just a straight upset. I'm obviously not betting that way, but it does feel like if it's going to happen, this might be the game that it happens.
And I think it feels like that because of. Say that again.
Oh, I was just curious when we start because I haven't really talked to you all much about the playoff. I was curious if you had to pick an upset, which one you'd pick, and with the lines included, like given the value and all that kind of stuff. Is there an upset that you would just like? Yeah, you know what? I kind of think SMU could just do it on the money line.
It's really close to this one and SMU, but it's only SMU because they're playing against James Franklin, who has an atrocious against top teams. Yeah. It has nothing to do with talent. So therefore I would go with this one only because of what I said, which is that Notre Dame, this is probably outside of Ohio State. This is the best team Notre Dame has played this year.
I'd probably go Tennessee. I think defensively, they're going to be the most similar to Penn State and Ohio State's entire schedule. But I do think they are stronger offensively than Penn State. So I think they can put up a stronger fight, on the road in what's the weather, like 18 degrees and snow or whatever it is. I mean, that's obviously a big challenge, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they made a run at it.
That's my one too, Tennessee.
All right.
I just think, the defensive line. We'll talk about that game later.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, let's keep moving to Saturday morning. This is gonna be a noon kickoff game. Penn State, SMU. At Penn State. So this is an interesting game. It's that kind of second team from the ACC getting in here, even though they're higher ranked than the first team from the ACC. Whatever. This one's interesting to me. SMU, you have a top 10 offense. Penn State's offense actually isn't too much of a scrub itself. So really we have probably what I think has the most potential for scoring, in my opinion, for a lot of the games this weekend. I don't actually have a pick on this game. I look at it. That's not true. I have Penn State as the second half of that money line parlay I talked about. I still see Penn State winning. Home in Happy Valley, hard to beat Penn State there, I think, as kind of they're not the lowest seed, are they? No, Clemson's the lowest seed, but
yeah,
SMU, for all kind of intents and purposes, the lowest seed. I think they have a hard time knocking off Penn State at home, which is why I'm picking Penn State to win. But I do think that this one has the potential for the most points. I'm still not picking the over, but
I'm actually taking
for all the weather nerds.
What was that?
I was just gonna say, all the weather nerds out there, it's gonna be like mid-20s, snowy. It's gonna be great. Pennsylvania weather.
That's to Mike's under.
SMU's average. SMU's average temperature at kickoff was like 67 degrees or something like that this year. Like, they're not ready for this.
No, I agree, and the weather plus I'm still just not sold on Penn State. Like every game I've watched, I know they've put up points, but you haven't seen them put up a dramatic amount of points on a really good football team. Now, granted, I don't think SMU is that really good defense here. But I think Penn State just comes out and tries to control the game. I don't think they have any need to go out and try to put up a ton of points. I think their defense is beyond leagues better than anything SMU has seen this year in the ACC. Their schedule has been super soft, which is obviously why everybody's in shambles about everything but with the playoffs. But I think SMU struggles to score a lot of points here, and I think that alone is just going to keep it under 54, especially in the weather.
Nice. We're all on the same page with Penn State. I'm talking myself out more of this SMU potential upset. I really am not feeling it as much now that you all are bringing these points. Stefan, what about you?
I don't have anything on this game.
Any thoughts on the game?
I was leaning under as well. I mean, the weather factor, of course. I I could just see both teams leaning on the run game. I like Tyler Warren's prop at over 71.5 receiving yards. I forgot to put it on the sheet as an official play, but I am going to be betting that and be using him in some underdog lineups. So that number at 71.5, you get at -110. So official play for me, because no matter what the game script, if they're in a shootout, it's because Tyler Warren is getting huge amounts of yards because he is their offense.
Yep.
Like he's but he is by far their number one receiving target. If they're in a slugfest and they need to figure out how to get going, they're going to rely on Tyler Warren. So no matter what happens, Tyler Warren's going to be involved in this offense. 71.5. Let's go.
Did I see it right? I have to as a CU fan. Look, I'm not as much of a Shador lover as I should be for a CU fan. But did Tyler Warren get more Heisman votes than Shador Sanders? Because I think that's a little bit erroneous. Shador's still a better quarterback than a tight end winning a Heisman. Anyways, I had a little bit of beef with that. He's very good. I think I text you all that I hope the Broncos somehow figure out how to get Tyler Warren for my draft stuff.
If you want an answer to that question, I have a hypothesis. It's because everyone who was voting for like Travis Hunter had already put in their CU clout, and so they were giving it to other people.
Can't give it to more. Can't give it to more than one guy. All right. Well, next up, I'm going to throw a curveball. We got South Dakota State, North Dakota State for the FCS semifinal. What do you all think about this game? All right.
Couldn't tell you.
Wrong podcast.
I did watch a lot of FCS. Yeah, I did watch a lot of FCS last weekend because there wasn't a lot of football on. They were pretty fun. Probably will not be watching this weekend, though, if I'm being totally honest.
Friend of the show, Colby Dant, has thoughts, I'm sure.
Yes,
go check it out.
Exactly. All right. 4 p.m. kickoff, Clemson at Texas. This game I do not have any picks on. It's the biggest spread of this first round of playoff is -12 to Texas. Do either of you think that Clemson is better than that -12, or at least even has a chance against Texas in any way as the biggest underdog?
No. Not even close.
Mike hates Clemson, though.
I do. I hate Clemson more than anything. I'm going under 61 as the second half of my teaser. So that's up like 6 points. I think it's at 55 or something like that right now. And this is primarily, I mean, Texas defense is just similar to the Penn State conversation. Like Texas defense is just far and away better than anything Clemson has seen all year. And even with that, they have still struggled at times. Dabo has obviously been here before. He is an experienced coach. So if anybody has a chance just out of sheer experience, I do think it is him. But even Texas, I mean, they've only scored more than 30 points 5 times this year against teams like Michigan, Louisiana, Monroe, and UTSA. So I think they're going to have a hard time scoring enough points to really push this, but there's a 0% chance Clemson is also going to score points on top of that to go over 61 here. So I think Texas wins. I wouldn't be surprised if they covered. I wouldn't be surprised if Clemson somehow keeps this within 10. But under 61, it feels, I don't know, about as safe as anything to me right now.
Stefan, what about you?
Yeah, I see the game exactly the same, actually. I think I want to know if I can get a better number than I found, because I was looking at Clemson and Texas under 52 at -112. If I can get better than that, I'll happily take it. So someone wants to peek at their sports book, I can look later, but I'm on the under. All that to say, Texas has just kind of struggled on offense. And I think we can understand why. They've had their running back room was depleted. They only recently kind of stuck with Wisner as their main back, and it's been good, but it's not been outstanding. And nor should it be. It's not the role he was expected to play this year. And their wide receiver room has been banged up, and they lost so much to the draft last year. I do think that's why they have relied so much on Gunnar Helm, their tight end. So I do expect him to have a pretty decent game. I think he'll be a focal point of their passing offense, which is why I have Gunnar Helm over 41.5 receiving yards.
And I'm on the under player props. If you're in a state, hopefully that you can do it.
Or you can use these on underdog wherever you
Yep.
might live, or
Yep.
or for DFS some good value plays. But I just think these defenses are both really good. Dabo in big games, he likes to shrink the amount of possessions each team has. So he's going to let that clock go all the way down. You're going to see Cade Klubnik run an awful lot. I would not be surprised if we see Texas utilize Arch Manning a little bit more. Because they're going to need him if they're going to beat teams like Georgia, if they're going to beat teams like Oregon down the road, they're going to have to be equipped with that. So I think we see a lot more running. I think we see a lot fewer possessions. So see the game the same way, Mike. I do have Texas on the money line as part of that Notre Dame parlay I talked about earlier, and then standalone on the under.
What I find interesting about Texas, like I feel like everybody says every week against big games that they're going to have to use Archie more. But like, I mean, in both games against Georgia, I don't think he's seen more than 2 or 3 snaps. So they haven't done it yet. And so until they do it, I'm going to keep saying that they should do it, but I'm not necessarily going to believe that they will do it. But
there are no props available on Arch Manning because no one knows how to value it correctly.
Totally. I did look while you were talking. It looks like DraftKings does have the best line at 52. Everything else is at 51.5 right now.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Let's get to our last game of the slate. We got Tennessee at Ohio State. We've already kind of teased a little bit about this game. This is my last pick. I'm going to take Tennessee and Ohio State first half under 23.5. We have 2 top 5 defenses with Ohio State allowing 10.9 total points per game to their opponents. That's crazy. It's the best defense in the country. Against Tennessee, 14.9 points to their opponents. I know they have some shutouts against weaker teams, kind of skew some of that, but I don't see more than 3 touchdowns happening in this first half against these 2 teams in a cold game in Columbus. We've talked about Tennessee being a slow first half starter on this show before and have bet their first half under. If they're going to score 24 points, it's going to mostly need to be, it would have to be like Ohio State 17, Tennessee 7, which is in the realm of possibilities. But I just like the under first half for this game at 23.5. You can get that, I think, for either half too, if you like the second half better for the over or whatever. So
one of my good buddies, my former podcast co-host, Matt Wispay, huge Ohio State fan. Anytime I bet Ohio State, he gives me his thoughts. And anytime I came close to betting an over, he was like, "Don't do it," especially not in the first half. They're the worst first half team to the over. So like,
nice.
Strong endorsement from him, I'm sure, on this under.
I'll take it.
Both teams are slow in the first half. The only way this doesn't hit is if it's a defensive or special teams touchdown. And
Right.
even then it might
Yep.
hit,
Yep. Even with one defensive special teams touchdown, it still might not get 2 other offensive touchdowns plus points,
I like it a lot. Can I tail it and count it as a show pick as well for my ROI over here?
Go for it.
No, I like that a lot. I'm also taking Tennessee plus 7.5. I think I've hit every talking point in little pieces here and there, but ultimately, I think this Tennessee defensive front is the strongest thing that Ohio State's seen outside of Penn State, and then that was a 7-point game. On top of that, I think Tennessee's offense is better. Cold weather game, not a lot of points, which makes it a closer game to begin with. Plus, I said at the start of the show, Ryan Day against the SEC in the postseason absolutely sucks at 1-13. So I don't know that Tennessee pulls it out. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but at the very least, this feels like it should be closer to a 3.5 line to me. So I'm going to go ahead and take it up plus 7.5.
Stefan, any reason you don't have any picks on this game?
I have one. I have a player prop. I've got Dylan Sampson as a
there we go. We got the Sampson prop. Yeah.
At minus 130, I conveniently put 3 player props in case you did want to do an underdog lineup with those guys. That's what I'll be doing. But I was curious kind of what you guys' thoughts were just on this game in general. Because you both mentioned this is one of the games you're most looking forward to. And I am as well. And I'm curious if it's going to be more similar to like Ohio State, Oregon, where it was just like a shootout and it was just like both teams battling it out, or if you guys, I mean, it sounds like you guys are both kind of leaning under here, and Tennessee with the points, more of a defensive struggle, and with the offensive line injuries at Ohio State, the inability to really run the ball, Will Howard kind of struggling, the bad taste we all have in our mouth after that Michigan game, like. Then Tennessee's had its struggles as well. So I don't even know which team to expect from either of these sides, which is why it's hard for me to play anything.
Yeah, I think that's totally understandable because Ohio State is not the dominant team that we expected them to maybe be when the season started and like getting to this point. And Tennessee has underperformed, but we also all loved, well, I know I loved Tennessee going into the season, and they haven't, but it's like, do they all of a sudden, like, will they flash and show up against, coming from the SEC and top competition to play Ohio State? Like, it could happen. I still
Tennessee
like
has
Les
the athletes. Like, Tennessee has the wide receivers, the running backs, Nico. Like, their defense is freaking nasty. Like, I could see them just straight up pull the upset here. Yeah. But it is at the shoe. Like, I mean, it's going to be a tough environment.
No, I mean, I think like I try to think through Ohio State in general in the postseason over the last few years, and I can't think of a blowout against another team of what we're considering Tennessee's caliber, right? Yep. Like, I feel like I feel like Ohio State is, 2 steps back of where they were when they had the big shootout against Georgia, where they lost from the missed field goal at the end, and then Georgia absolutely beat the brakes off of Tennessee in the national championship or TCU. But like it feels to me like Ohio State is a couple steps back from that team, and it feels like that's right where Tennessee is this year. So I just think that, I think we look at schedules, we look at similar opponents. I think these two teams are much closer in talent level right now. I think it comes down to execution. I think they got the exact same talent as a team on both sides of the ball. It's just a matter of who executes better. And you got 2 good coaches. So like, I think they both come ready to play and keep it a close game.
I love it. I'm pretty excited about this slate. I'm just excited. I guess I'm more excited for this college football playoff stuff more than anything. It's just going to be awesome to watch. We got some NFL games coming up. We'll have an NFL show and some picks for you later this week. But we are going to run down our picks on the show. You see these up on the screen. Because we went game by game, we're just going to go through the picks for you now in order so they're easy for you to follow and find. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube, all the podcast places, hit the like, subscribe, download, all of those things. I'm going to start us off. I got Notre Dame money line and Penn State money line, a teaser parlay there for you. Then I will take the under in the Indiana Notre Dame game, under 51. And then I'm going to take the Tennessee Ohio State first half under at 23.5. And that's it for me.
All right. I'm going to take Notre Dame money line and Texas on the money line as a parlay. I'm going to go under 52 in Clemson at Texas. I'm going to have Dylan Sampson as an anytime touchdown at -130. Got Gunnar Helm over 41.5 receiving yards for Texas at -110. I'm going to go with, what was the other one that I said? Tyler Warren over 71.5 receiving yards for Penn State.
I'm going to wrap us up here with a teaser of Indiana plus 14.5 against Notre Dame, with the Clemson and Texas under 61 -112. Give me Tennessee plus 7.5 points at Ohio State. Take SMU at Penn State, game total under 54 points. And then I'm also going to tell Eric on the Tennessee at Ohio State first half under 23.5.
Awesome. That is it. Excited to watch some college football playoffs. Go check out the NFL show. We will talk to y'all later.